Ladies and gentlemen, tens of thousands of people at the Virginia Tech game had a message for Joe Biden and the progressive left in regard to lockdowns and mask mandates. Look at the size of this damn crowd. Take a look, take a listen, folks.
College football is really back when a jam-packed Lane Stadium is singing along to Enter Sandman.
It's big. Look at that, folks. Thousands of people jumping up and down. You got football players. You got mascots running around. I don't see any masks. No social distancing. I'm not a big follower of football. Military personnel jumping up and down. People are excited. It's like the 90s. This doesn't feel like lockdown America. This feels like what America should be. America looks back in this video. Ah, that's cool. That's cool. You don't have to be a football fan, a college football fan, to appreciate that. With all the crap that the left tells us. Crazy. Crazy. That's an army, ladies and gentlemen. That's an army. Let's start the show. Coming to you from the underground stronghold here in Washington State, this is episode 170 of American Reveille. I'm your host, James Lane. Oh my gosh, did you see, or at least hear, that crowd? No masks, no social distancing. Go F yourself, big government. Go F yourself, liberal, left-wing oligarchs, tyrannical dinosaurs of hate. I don't know. That sounds like a band name for a punk band from the 80s. I do the best I can. All right, guys, I do the best I can. But I want you to know, new episodes of this show come out 4 p.m.-ish. 5 p.m.-ish every Sunday. That's Pacific Standard Time. Pacific Standard Time, that's about 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe. Please share. Please leave a comment. Please talk about American Reveille. Right now, we're looking at all different ways to distribute what we're doing here. All right. If you have any knowledge about AM radio, about local television, give me a holler. All right. Holler over to my email. Send me an email, jameslane@AmericanReveille.com. We could use your help. We're looking into that heavily. We feel like that might be an untapped place where we can get past the censorship. There's a lot of folks that still enjoy AM radio, myself included. So if you know how to work into that industry, please, 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 please shoot me an email. Like I said, James Lane, AmericanReveille.com. That's American Reveille, Reveille.com. James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. Anyway, folks, my gosh, I still can't get over that crowd. It made me, look, I'm not a college football fan. It's not that I don't like it. I just never followed it. But seeing all of those people together, hearing those cheers, hearing those chants, that energy, it made me feel invigorated. It made me go, man, that is the America that I remember. That's the America that I remember. There's a lot of opinions out there. All right. There's a lot of people talking, and there's a lot of folks that don't get heard that maybe should be heard. All right. And there's a lot of news out there that you might not be aware of. If you hop over to AmericanReveille.com, that's American Reveille, Reveille.com. We also do articles, guys. We have blogs and articles. We've got a bunch of new stuff up. We've got the debt ceiling is about to crash down on America and we're paying for it by D.T. Osborne, green climate policy promoting poverty, all kinds of stuff. Meme warfare, all right, lions led by donkeys. Kabul is far worse than Saigon, and here's why. Folks, it's not just a podcast. It's not just a show. It is an entire experience. It's a publication. Yeah, the website's a little bit shoddy, but we're doing the best we can. I've been pouring in thousands of dollars, doing everything I can to get this up and running, and I do what I can. I don't have that much money. Trust me, your donations have been generous and they have helped, but I still need help getting the website up to date. We have a brand new website that's like 90% complete, but I don't have any help to get it updated and to get it running over on WordPress. So we're stuck with this for now. So please support us every way you can. Go to the website, AmericanReveille.com, REVELLE.com. There you'll find the articles. There you'll find the latest podcast. You can listen to it in audio. You can watch it in video, just like whether or not you go on other platforms. You can see it everywhere else, but you can also go to the website. Look, I make it convenient for you. It's a bargain. All right. You can go anywhere, everywhere, whatever your convenience may be. You'll find the American Reveille. You see that? It even rhymes. Wherever your convenience may be, you can find the American Reveille. All right. Anyway, I'm going to step off my high horse there. Look, the simplest thing you can do, head over to the website. You see that green button right there that says sign up? That'll sign you up for the American Reveille free speech publication, and that will give you at least weekly. It'll give you a newsletter that I send out that shows you everything you missed. It's free. There's no advertisements. There's nothing on there that's going to cost you any money. It's just going to show you the articles and the podcasts that came out. And I would really, really, really appreciate it if you would sign up for that so that we can grow our audience and spread the free speech word across this nation. Of course, free speech is not hate speech. We don't condone hate speech, but we do support free speech. So look, we talked about Virginia Tech. All right. I think Virginia Tech, that whole thing, this big crowd coming out, showing their support, showing their spirit for their team in the thousands, with all this COVID nonsense, all this COVID garbage going on. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't discount the deaths, but I do discount the hysteria. I do think that the madness, the fear mongering, the insanity that the left has brought upon us, that is too much. That is nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. That is nonsense. I feel that crowd is like a giant peaceful protest. They say, where are the thousands of people that need to come out? Well, there are thousands of people that came out. They staged a peaceful protest. They showed their support for their team. They made all of the hypocrite Democrats puke in their mouths, even though they're far worse when the doors are closed. And we'll talk about that a little more later in the show. You know, the crowd made me feel like time had been turned back. It really did. I felt the energy, and it made me feel like we were back in the 2000s, back in the 90s, before all this craziness started creeping up, when all the Marxism, the socialism, the insanity was hidden behind closed doors. As Cypher in the Matrix says, ignorance is bliss, but unfortunately Pandora's box has been open. The cat is out of the bag. The monster is free, and we're fighting it every day, ladies and gentlemen. Every day we are fighting it. And of course, the left, they want to take those good feelings, the good feelings we have when we see this, those wins, those little victories that we have against this socialist monstrosity, and they just want to poo-poo all over it. They want to crap all over it. So on today's show, we're going to hit back a little bit. We're going to talk about the top 10 woke education stories. We got that off Daily Wire. We're going to talk about Antifa shooting a Proud Boy in Olympia, Washington. Geraldo Rivera apparently banged the Canadian Prime Minister's mom, and why that's relevant. And it is. It really is. Trust me. And also, yes, the State Department did abandon a bunch of dogs in Kabul. And in this day in history, more proof that Democrats are selfish and racist. That's right, selfish and racist. But first, But first, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this jackass on Twitter, Rex Chapman. This article's from Breitbart.com, folks. Rex Chapman outraged by COVID Bowl crowd at Virginia Tech. I love how he calls it the COVID Bowl. Nobody mentions Obama's birthday super spreader bash. Nobody mentions the little parties that Chuck Schumer spends dancing at while Afghanistan burnt to the ground. It's a total hypocritic. It almost puts you at a loss for words. It actually does put you at a loss for words, right? They get away with murder. They get away with literally murder. The left, the Democrats, the elites. This Twitter celebrity, Rex Chapman, he's outraged by the COVID Bowl. Even though they themselves, they commit the acts that they condemn the right for doing. They're hypocrites. They're liars. They're con artists. They're snake oil salesmen. They're gaslighters. They're literally wolves in sheep's clothing, trying to usher in some sort of great reset, some Marxist takeover, some terrible, terrible future, while pretending to be holier than thou. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But let me get off the soapbox. Let's read the article. Rex Chapman outraged by COVID Bowl crowd at Virginia Tech by Dylan Gwynn. Professional offended guy, and it seems to be his full-time job, Rex Chapman took to Twitter on Friday night to voice his outrage over the large crowd at the Virginia Tech North Carolina game, calling it the COVID Bowl. The Hokies welcomed the Tar Heels Friday night for their season opener, and it seemed like the whole university was in attendance as the crowd started rocking to Enter Sandman. That's when you know you've gotten old. I don't know how old you guys feel, but I was rocking to Enter Sandman when I was a teen. Enter Sandman was awesome, and now they're rocking to it at football games like it's a classic rock mega oldie, and it is, and that just makes me sad because I'm getting old. But anyway, back, take a look. Look at this, guys. Look at that crowd. There has to be thousands of people there. That looks like, for those listening, there's so much red, right? Everybody's wearing red, holding red signs up. It looks like fire ants, but it's thousands of people. It's thousands of people, but it looks like fire ants. It's absolutely insane. It says, however, the scene of fun and frivolity did not go over well with Chapman, who quickly did his apparent job of poo-pooing all over people who are trying to enjoy their lives. And Rex Chapman's tweet right here, it says, "Oh my God, the COVID Bowl." And it shows the crowd of fire ants that I described before. But of course, the internet is forever, and it is undefeated, which is bad news for Chapman because the Twitter receipts quickly began flowing in and showed that Chapman is only concerned about social distancing and mask wearing at sporting events that he's not attending. One particularly damning image showed a maskless Chapman in the middle of a maskless crowd of fans at a Phoenix Sun game. Take a look. Look at this bald guy. Look at this guy with his blue glasses that make him look even more ridiculous and harmless. No mask, not following his own protocol, rules for thee, but not for me. Apparently, what makes a maskless sporting event a super spreader is whether or not Chapman has tickets. The DNC's favorite tweeter then got caught taking a very close and personal maskless photo with a very maskless Kyler Murray. Take a look right here. Look at this guy. All these folks care about, all these leftists care about, is their own selfish gain. All right, that made him feel good. He feels great to be there. That's his little party, his little powwow. People are happy to see him. He has no mask on. He's in control. He can do whatever he wants. He's part of the elite class. Oh, but wait, social media has a double-edged sword. Social media has a double-edged sword. The left loves to forget that. All right. Social media is a two-way mirror, ladies and gentlemen. You can't go and talk about something like it's bad and then do it yourself and not get called out on your crap. And the left is starting to find out more and more that they can't get away with that. So this guy, this Rex Chapman guy that none of us know about, he's got 1 million followers on Twitter, this Twitter celebrity guy, this squawk box for the radical left, He's sitting there condemning that magic, condemning that energy, condemning that peaceful protest against mask mandates, against social distancing, against vaccine mandates. Virginia Tech putting their middle finger, their proverbial middle finger, in the face of Joe Biden and the radical left. This guy has the audacity to come out, talk crap. Well, talk crap and you get the smackdown laid back on you sometimes, son. You've been called out on your crap, just like we're going to call out the left throughout this entire episode today, ladies and gentlemen. This entire episode, we're going to talk about these folks. They've come from our school systems. They've been created. They've been created in this country. They're hypocrites. The woke culture is hypocritical. Critical race theory is actually racism. All right? This wokeness, this horrible stuff would have been squashed years ago if it wasn't for this intravenous guttural growth tumor that is social media. That is your cell phone. That's literally made communication instantaneous. That's a double-edged sword too, my friends. That's a double-edged sword too. The cell phone and social media abuse combined with Marxist infiltration, this Marxist infiltration of our entire public education and college system, has fueled psychopaths like this to run rampant through all of our institutions. And to show you how broken our schools really are, I want to do the top 10 education insanity stories from the Daily Wire. All right, we're going to talk about what's happening in schools and colleges, folks. We're going to talk about all of the stuff that's going on lately in this country, at least in the top 10, If you didn't know that some of this woke craziness is going on, if you didn't know, then you're about to be in for a very rude awakening, because Antifa, that starts in the classrooms. Radical leftism, wokeism, that starts in the classrooms. It does. It really, really does. They want you to report for COVID. They want you to get vaccine. They want you to report your traveling. They want your kids to wear masks. They want people to be controlled for the benefit of others. And that's all this is, social redistribution so that other people can be in power. And if you think the people are going to get the power, that is a lie. You have another thing coming. Folks, this is the top 10 stories of the week from the Daily Wire, Education Insanity. Welcome back to Education Insanity, a weekly column updating you on the most insane events taking place in our nation's schools. Here we'll delve into the growing presence of critical race theory, the ideology that claims that America is irredeemably rooted in racism and woke culture. And we all know that critical race theory is actually racism. We know that the left is racist. We know that the Democrats are actually racists, and they're gaslighting and trying to pin it on the right. All right. Are there Nazis out there? Are there pieces of crap out there? Yeah, they do exist. And they're on the left. They're not associated with the MAGA movement. They're not associated with the right at all. Anti-Semites, all those crazy freaking Nazis that are out there, the real ones that are out there, they're not on the right. The things have shifted. Antifa and Black Lives Matter have more in common with neo-Nazis than anyone on the right ever did. And that's the truth. We're going to go down this list, folks. We're going to go down it before I take us down another rabbit hole. Number 10, New Mexico State University professor. This is the top 10 stories of the week. New Mexico State University professor says he's barred from classrooms after bucking the school's mask policy. This is the Las Cruces. I think that's how you say it. Las Cruces or Las Cruces. Just say Las Cruces. Sun News. New Mexico State University professor David Clements was removed from his classroom after posting a video to Rumble claiming that he will not abide by the school's COVID restrictions, including the school's mask mandate. Quote, "As you can see, I'm not wearing a mask." Clements said, "Why is that? Because I haven't lost my mind. That is why I will not wear a mask." And he is barred from the classroom. He's a professor at a college. He's not teaching at some institute for people that are sick, unless you consider Marxism as being sick, which I do. So I guess he is teaching at a mental institution. But I digress. Number 9, Christian University commissioned pro-LGBTQ, pro-democratic murals for dorms. This is in campus reform. Not that I have anything against LGBTQ. I'm a little more socially acceptable. People do what they do. Just kind of stay off my lawn. This is a Christian university, right? So I don't know. The religion and LGBT thing mixing together, I didn't realize that mixed. I don't know. Maybe I'm behind in some way, but I think this is a bad deal. A local artist and an alumnus at Atlanta's Emory University painted a mural of Democratic politicians and LGBT pride on a residence hall. The mural features slogans such as, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." It also includes 2 prominent Democratic politicians native to Atlanta, the late Rep. John Lewis and former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams. So a radical, insane person and a civil rights legend pinned with, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." These leftists have no idea what their slogans mean. They have an army of mindless, brainless people that don't know history. They don't know, they don't care. They have their own definition, their own idea of what history is. Trust me, if you went back to the civil rights movement, to John Lewis and to Martin Luther King and to all those folks, if you painted a "We're here, we're queer, get used to it" sign next to them, I bet you they would beat the shit out of you. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Number 8, university hosts welcome barbecue intended for people of color. The University of Wisconsin-Madison hosted a welcome barbecue intended for self-identifying people of color. That's more of that woke stuff right there. Self-identifying people of color. You can be a white person and just say you believe you're a black person, and then you can go to that barbecue. That doesn't sound mentally deranged at all. The barbecue is hosted by the school's Center for Cultural Enrichment, where their stated mission includes embracing all races, ethnicities, sexual orientations, gender expressions. I expressly believe I am the gender of a pineapple today. Religions, classes, abilities, or any other aspects of identity we hold. Well, what if that religion doesn't believe in some of that? You see, this is very oppressive. They pretend it's one way, but it's really, really not. Number 7, Cambridge University to add signs contextualizing the whiteness. We need to be told further. The whiteness of its Roman and Greek statues. I can't even. Cambridge University's Archaeological Museum will reportedly install signs that explain the whiteness of the statues in a move aimed at appeasing students over the numerous Roman and Greek sculptures in the museum. According to reports, the white statues may give students a misleading impression that there was little diversity in the ancient world. So they're trying to say that the history is being taught that Rome and Greek, they're telling people they were too white. And so they need to put disclaimers on the statues, letting people know, like, hey, these people weren't as white as you think they may be. More stuff shaming white people. You know, white people are a culture too. They're people too. There are all kinds of people. Everybody deserves respect, including white people, black people, Indian people, South American people, all kinds of people. Brown, white, red, yellow, any color you want to think, the colors of the rainbow. Everybody at least deserves a little bit of respect. But this critical race theory, this wokeness, it's to destroy and overthrow any sense of actual equality with equity. And as we all know, equity is racism. 6, DC prep schools embrace diversity. There's that word again, equity and inclusion, from the City Journal. The top 5 DC area private high schools, including Sidwell Friends, Georgetown Day, Holton Arms, and the National Cathedral School in St. Albans, committed to a diversity, equity, and inclusion strategic plan. The plan will require every classroom in a given institution to demonstrate commitment to anti-racism. This will include chemistry class, athletic departments, and even the board of trustees. So the top 5 Washington, D.C. private high schools, those are the rich kids go to that school. And this is what they're being taught. You see, they're going to replace the elites with these Marxists. They're teaching them. They're indoctrinating them. They're indoctrinating the wealthiest kids, the people that are going to take over this country. They're being indoctrinated so that our children will have to fight a Marxist takeover. You see what's happening, right? We can't let this happen. We can't let this continue. We have to keep standing up and yank education back to patriotism, folks. The Pledge of Allegiance has to come back, ladies and gentlemen. People have to respect God again. It has to happen, ladies and gentlemen. 5. Fairfax teachers win $32.7 million bonus for extraordinary work during the pandemic. Wow. Wow. Could I have some money? Virginia's Fairfax County Public Schools, the FCPS district, shelled out $32.7 million in bonuses for teachers who made extraordinary contributions and sacrifices during the coronavirus pandemic. Nearly all teachers within the FCPS district worked from home, and many teachers lobbied to keep schools closed, even after data showed it was safe to reopen schools. Democrats buying more votes, stay home, get paid, and vote Democrat. Hey, 4. Virginia Education Department instructs teachers to avoid teaching about Muslim extremism on 9/11. Coming straight from the Daily Wire, Virginia's Department of Education hosted a speaker who instructed teachers to exclude the role Muslim extremism played when teaching about 9/11. You see, that's what they're trying to do, folks. They're trying to make it all gentler. They're trying to say that the Taliban are nice. Al-Qaeda is nice. Let's work with them. They're friends. They're a new, loving, peaceful, fuzzy, happy, gay unicorn. The Taliban. No, they're going to blow people up. Muslim extremism is alive and well. There's all kinds of extremism that still exists in this world, and Muslim extremism is one of them. You have to teach it, lest we forget the lessons of the past. We are doomed to repeat them, and it looks like we are repeating them. God rest the souls of those folks that have died over in Afghanistan, especially our service members. Ladies and gentlemen, this is sick. The presentation reads in part, School and Classroom 9/11 Commemoratorium are sites for increased anti-Muslim racism. The School and Classroom 9/11 commemoration, I don't know what the heck I was saying before, commemorations are sites for increased anti-Muslim racism. This year's 20th anniversary commemorations will likely result in heightened risks of racist discord, threats, and violent targeting Muslim students in schools and society. So they're worried about violence targeting Muslim students, but obviously nobody's worried about Muslim terrorists coming in through our southern borders and bombing us on the anniversary of 9/11. God help us, and hope that doesn't happen. I really do. Educators are well positioned to disrupt these risks by centering the socio-emotional needs of Muslims in their commemoration plans. Nobody remembers, nobody cares about the people that died on 9/11 anymore. That's the truth. That's what that tells you. That tells you that all of the people that died on 9/11 and all of their spouses, loved ones, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, family members, brothers, sisters, everybody that still remembers them, they have been forgotten. It's a sad day in American history. Number 3, California teacher tells class to pledge allegiance to the gay pride flag. That's fantastic. I really hope that you're asking and investigating what your kids' schools are doing. Kristen Pitson, an Orange County school teacher, is under investigation after she posted a video admitting that she encourages her students to pledge allegiance to the LGBT pride flag in place of the American flag, which she removed from her classroom. Quote, okay, so during third period, we have announcements and they do the Pledge of Allegiance, Pitson said. Quote, I always tell my class, stand if you like it, don't stand if you feel like it. Say the words if you want. You don't have to say the words. Of course, a left-wing teacher in Orange County would have the kids not pledge to the American flag, pledge allegiance to the gay pride flag, and they would distort American culture. Of course. But it's possibly happening in your school district as well. We can't trust that it isn't. We have to find out for ourselves. We have to stand up to these people. What this is child abuse. Plain and simple. It's child abuse. Number 2, LA Teachers Union president. There's no such thing as a learning loss. Cecilie Mayart Cruz, the president of the United Teachers Los Angeles, UTLA, stated that students received a sufficient education via online learning, despite a slew of studies that rebuke this claim. Quote, "There's no such thing as learning loss," Mayart Cruz said. "Our kids didn't lose anything. It's okay that our babies may not have learned at their timetables. They learned resilience. They learned survival. They learned critical thinking skills. They know the difference between a riot and a protest. They know the words insurrection and coup." These people are insane. I consider that child abuse as well, and they're trying to make a generation of idiots. They're trying to make the movie Idiocracy into a documentary. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. These people should all be imprisoned. They should be imprisoned. Please, please, please stand up and find out what is happening in your kids' schools. One Sacramento teacher admits he bribed students with extra credit to attend Antifa events. In a now viral video, Sacramento, I don't know why I should just keep saying that. I keep saying Sacramento. It is a freaking mental place. It's full of insane people. So we're just going to call it that from now on. In a now viral video, Sacramento area teacher Gabriel Gipe admitted that he bribes his students with extra credit to attend Antifa events in the community. Gipe admitted to having an Antifa flag and a Mao Zedong poster in his classroom. Quote, "I have 180 days to turn my students into revolutionaries," Gipe said. "I scare the fuck out of them." Great. Absolutely fantastic. So, Antifa, the violent group that pretends to hunt fascists, although they use fascism to catch fascism. This group, which is actually a racist, fascist, Marxist group that likes to terrify people with violence in the name of a cause, a false cause with false definitions. All right. They have more in common with neo-Nazis, although they say they're against neo-Nazis. What you don't realize is they've changed the definitions. And I don't know if you know this. But Antifa shot a Proud Boy member in Olympia, Washington on September 4th. You probably don't, because the mainstream media covers for Antifa. It's all hypocrisy. It's all rules for thee, but not for me. Ladies and gentlemen, Antifa, they're a wing of the left-wing Democratic Party, of the progressives, of the liberal army, of the extremists, of the people that want to watch our values, our country burn, of the people that want to watch racism evolve into some terrible tyranny. They are the racists. It's the ultimate hypocrisy. And we're fed up. I know I'm fed up. Are you fed up? It's absolutely too much. The people that are doing the violence, they get a free pass. Look at all the people from the Summer of Love, all the riots from the left when they were burning our cities the other year. They all got out of jail free. So many of them did, at least. So many. The majority got a free pass. Well, the right is blamed. The right's called terrorists. While dozens of people, if not, I think it's like 100 people, are still behind bars. For January 6th, there were no weapons. There were no violence that took place, unless you want to talk about Ashley Babbitt getting killed. Should they have done it? No. It was out of control. It was a riot. But to say that would have caused the overthrow of this entire country is absolute insanity. You know it. I know it. Plain and simple. The left wins the cake and has all of the points if you want to talk about violence, because they've committed so much violence. They've scared so many people, whether it's the mainstream media talking about COVID, scaring everybody half to death, creating a huge divide that I don't even know how we come back from. How do we come back? There are people that we just don't even talk anymore. We don't trust anymore. We blame, look, every Democrat voter who voted for Joe Biden just because they hated Trump has blood on their hands for Afghanistan. How do we come back from this? It's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about. And there's one person that's talking. There's one person that keeps exposing the truth, and that's Gavin McInnes. He's the founder of the Proud Boys. He's calling a spade, and he's putting these racist left-wing Democrats and Antifa members in their place. Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes responds to shooting in Washington, says Antifa are white kids with guns shooting people of color, and I agree 100%. Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes has responded to the shooting of the men's social club member Tusitala Tiny Tosi being shot in Olympia, Washington. The Proud Boys and other right-wing protesters had been facing off with members of Antifa who showed up to antagonize a medical freedom rally. Tosi was reportedly attempting to chase them off when he was shot, though it is currently unclear who shot him. Reports have been rolling in, tons of reports that it was Antifa, though. Tosi is a Samoan, but that has not stopped far-left activists and media from portraying him as a white supremacist. And we've talked about this before, ladies and gentlemen. White, they have definitions under lock, right? They've changed these definitions right under people's noses, so they're confused. They can call people racist. It doesn't matter what color you are, what ethnicity you are. That doesn't matter. That doesn't fit their definition of racism, because to them, racism is a concept. It has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with institutions and systems and hierarchies of power. And it really lines up with Marxism. It really, 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 really does. It's a Trojan horse. It's a lie. It is garbage. They are the racists. You can obviously see how I feel about this. Let's get back to the article. Quote, the narrative is that Proud Boys are dangerous Nazis, even when you have Antifa shooting people of color, McInnes told the Gateway pundit. Quote, this isn't the first person they've shot, and it won't be the last. When are people going to wake up? Indeed, a total of 4 people were shot at the Capitol Hill occupied protest CHOP in Seattle. 2 of the victims died. All 4 were people of color. Look where the facts point, folks. Look where the facts point. Proud Boys are a diverse men's social club with many members who are Black, Asian, and Latino, including their current leader, Enrique Tarrio. Antifa are violent white guys who regularly shoot people of color and gays, McInnes continued. They hunted gay patriot Jay Bishop and assassinated him in cold blood. I remember that. It was terrible. The ideology they pretend to support is a front. They want to murder innocent people and destroy America because they are mentally ill. Yes, 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 and yes. Aaron J. Danielson, better known online as Jay Bishop, and we did a podcast about that back when it happened, was shot and killed by an Antifa militant in Portland last year. Quote, Tiny of the Proud Boys has been shot here in Olympia, Washington. The shooting took place 0.8 miles away from the state capitol after Proud Boys pursued Antifa Black Bloc, who showed up within a square block of a medical freedom protest. Leftist photojournalist Jeremy Lee Quinn tweeted with a video. This is like terrible. Yep. Here's more videos. Notorious Proud Boy Tusitala Tiny Tosi has been shot on live stream while chasing Antifa members in Washington. The cameraman refused to show the wound for fear it would be used as propaganda. Yeah, terrible stuff. The left causes all of this violence, all of this mayhem, all of these shootings, and yet they're never, ever held accountable. People at the scene said that Tosi was shot in the foot or ankle. He appeared to be awake and alert in footage showing the shooting. The Gateway pundit will continue to provide updates as more information becomes available. I showed you that to prove a point, to get a point across about this violence. I don't see violence coming from the right. I don't see conservatives being violent. I don't see libertarians being violent. All right. I don't see anybody being violent but people on the left. So somebody please enlighten me. How many more people have to get shot before people wake up and realize that the far left and the Democrats have an agenda? How far does the violence, the stupidity, and the hypocrisy escalate? How many more articles have to be written proving that the Dems and the lefties are actually racist, sexist hypocrites? Look, they're not hard to find. Here's another liberal who's holier than thou, and their attitude and the things that they say do not match the words that are coming out of their mouth. The things that have happened in the past don't match what they're putting forward today. And you know him because he works for Fox News. His name's Geraldo Rivera. And he's been doing some twisted stuff behind the scenes for many, many years while acting like a honorable middle ground Democrat, some sort of pariah of information, some sort of trusted figure. Geraldo Rivera has been this good, honorable guy, while in fact he's been nothing but a fiend. Somebody with a lack of self-control over their animal instincts, somebody who rides the bandwagon of Me Too and wokeness and the good deeds of the left, while in fact being guilty himself of hypocrisy. This really fits in. It plays in. We want to go through the story. It's really, really interesting and stupid and ridiculous. But it's informative. And it'll take us to the next point, because the point I'm really going to try to make about this, the point that I'm going to get across, is how crappy Democrats really are, how crappy the left and selfish the left really is. So you need to hear this. You need to hear this to drive the point home pretty soon. Geraldo Rivera has been accused of sexual misconduct, admitted to degrading group sex, and an affair with Justin Trudeau's mom. Yes, Geraldo Rivera. He is banging Geraldo Rivera. His banging, or has banged, or has banged. There's some sort of past tense there, or post tense, or middle tense. The Geraldo Rivera is banging the Prime Minister of Canada's mom story, to show you how low, how far down, how deceptive, how snake-like, how dirty Democrats really are. This is by Patrick Howley from nationalfile.com. Liberal Fox News personality Geraldo Rivera confessed in his own memoir to engaging in rampant workplace sex, and actress Bette Midler has accused Rivera of groping her. Oh my God. These massive revelations about Rivera's personal conduct raise questions about Fox News management. Does Fox News parent company, which has Joe Biden's former chief of staff as its government relations official in Washington, D.C., feel that Rivera's liberal establishment politics compensate for his own admitted degenerate behavior? And think about that for a second, folks. I'm being honest with you. I know we like Tucker Carlson, and I know we like Greg Gutfeld and all of that, but who can you trust? Who can you trust when Fox News's parent company has Joe Biden's former chief of staff as its government relations official in Washington, D.C.? Here's the passage from Geraldo Rivera's 1991 autobiography. All right. This wasn't written yesterday. This was written 20 years ago, and nothing has happened to him. Exposing Myself, in which Rivera, this is the name of his autobiography, Exposing Myself. Geraldo Rivera, Exposing Myself, in which Rivera describes his tryst, however you say that, with the married wife of former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, who also happens to be the mother of current Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Please put the cheese curds on my fries. That is disgusting. They even have a picture of the book here. Geraldo Rivera, Exposing Myself. Gosh, National File. You think I can borrow some of your researchers? You guys are digging up the heat. Here's Geraldo smiling with Fidel Castro from his 1991 book. How do you think Cuban-American viewers of Fox News might feel about this? Look at him right there, all young, holding a weapon, smiling at Fidel Castro in 1977, that dictator. Interesting. These are black and white photos. You can tell it's the 70s because of the clothing, the bandanas, the loose t-shirts, the button-up. It is very 1970-esque. A young woman reportedly consented to fornication with Geraldo and his roommates, who took turns fornicating with her and Rivera, admitting that, quote, "Today I will be filled with rescue fantasies for this creature. Then, all I wanted to do was outperform my roommates. I announced I would be first up, leading the girl into my bedroom and silently marveling at the good fortune that had smiled on our home. Later that evening, when my turn came up, I took some time to talk with her. Pat, I think her name was Pat. She was a little on the slim side. Something about her reminded me of the daughter who loses her baby near the end of The Grapes of Wrath. It was demeaning, degrading, and dishonorable, and I was in the middle of it. Any man of conscience would have tried to talk some sense into this girl, but not me, not then. A stiff dick has no conscience." Straight out of Geraldo Rivera's mouth, a stiff dick with no conscience. Rivera also states, referring to workplace sex, page 195, that, quote, "I discovered the room on an impulse born of necessity. I had two cute and smart young women working for me at the time, college co-eds from out of town who were infatuated with the television news business and their proximity to the local star of the day. They were attractive and dedicated, and after a short time, the infatuation became mutual. On one unusually slow news day, things heated up to where all indications suggested an urgent need for privacy. Well, we found it in the boiler room, and from that day forward, the three of us would regularly disappear there. All we had in the way of furniture was a chair, which made our entanglements daunting and creative, but we were always up to the challenge. I think that Anchorman Ron Burgundy and Geraldo Rivera have something to talk about. Look, people get into weird situations at work, right? People have slept with people they've met on the job. Things happen. We're adults. Things happen. But he's talking about this narcissistic, selfish, disgusting desire he has to engage in the badness of this. That's what it feels like. It feels like he's sexually aroused by the fact that it's bad, it's wrong, and he's not supposed to do it, and not actually enjoying his moment. It's not a mutual thing. It's a power thing. It's a bad dude. It's a representation of the left. They're about power. They're about selfishness. They're about control. Quote, "I met most of my young ladies at work," Rivera wrote on page 47. He adds, "Despite my saintly professional calling, I moved through women with ravenous delight. Romantically, this was a sloppy time for me. Find 'em, fuck 'em, forget 'em. But I computed my divine balance sheet against my daytime heroics and still came out again." You see that? He knows. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and he is okay with it. It's beneficial for him. He enjoys the demonic pleasure it brings him. On page 46, Rivera describes taking a woman to get an abortion in 1968, relying on his connections to the mafia to find someone who would illegally abort the child. Quote, "Sally wanted to move on and keep flying, and I wanted nothing to do with a wife and child. Abortion was the only alternative." See, using abortion, all these pro-abortion movements, all these people protecting the women's right to choose. 62 million babies have been murdered through abortion since Roe v. Wade, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pandemic. It's a genocide on babies. And there is a lefty using it as birth control because he wanted to keep banging chicks. That's literally what this is saying. Trouble was, in 1968, it was also illegal. Pal Joey stepped in to bail me out. He arranged for us to use an abortionist favored by his mob cronies, a gypsy from the Bensonhurst section of Brooklyn. He helped me pay for it. There was no way I could afford the $300 fee on my own. We just aborted your son, Sally told me on the long, quiet subway ride back to Manhattan. He literally had a gypsy from Brooklyn do an illegal abortion because he wanted to keep banging chicks. Great stuff. Great stuff. Actress Bette Midler, who I'm no fan of, responding many years later, many years ago, to Geraldo Rivera's autobiography. It's Bette Midler, so autobiography. Geraldo Rivera's autobiography, allegedly that Rivera and his producer in the 1970s, she said, pushed her into her bathroom. They broke 2 poppers, pushed them under her nose, and proceeded to grope her. That shouldn't happen to anybody, whether I like them or not. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And that's like the same stuff like Cosby was doing, like putting stuff in ladies' drinks. They're putting poppers under chicks' noses. It's gross. Quote, although I recall the time at Bette Midler has alluded to much differently than she, that does not change the fact that she has the right to speak out and demand an apology for me. For in the very least, publicly embarrassing her all those years ago, Rivera wrote on Twitter, "Bet, I apologize." These elites get away with anything they want. The Hunter Bidens of the world, the Jeffrey Epsteins, the Geraldo Riveras, the Bill Clintons, the Hillary Clintons, the Obamas, the Biden, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's so frustrating that there's no accountability. We all feel the same about it. We all feel how much these Dems suck. And they literally, it feels like they're spitting in our faces, like they're laughing at us, like they're looking down on us and slapping us in the face and saying we can do all these horrible things. We can hurt people. We can take advantage of women. We can take advantage of men. We can take advantage of the law. We can never get arrested. We can shit all over the little guy and the little girl. And nothing will happen to us. Ha ha ha. What are you going to do about it, American people? What are you going to do about it, middle class, about to be poor who are about to be homeless? This is punishment for the MAGA movement. The left is punishing all of the little people. But we're coming back. We're coming back in a big way, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're MAGA, whether you're right wing, whether you're conservative, whether you're libertarian, whether you're an independent, we are done. We are sick and tired. We are looking for balance. We are looking for balance in the right way, stuff that actually helps people, the American people, and doesn't just help the rich, elite, leftist insanity. We're not trying to bring forward the Great Reset. All right, we're trying to bring forward the great balance. It says here from Geraldo Rivera, hearing crazy talk on cable TV right now, folks, about folks having the constitutional right not to get vaccinated. Yes, they may be dopey, but they do have that right. We too have rights to deny the unvaccinated access to our home, school, or business. Geraldo Rivera said that July 19th, 2021. He literally said that we should make sure that people that have no vaccination should not be allowed in homes, schools, or businesses. But it doesn't seem like he believes that women have the right to avoid his devilish charms. Whether they're charms or whether he forced himself on these women is yet to be determined, but we can determine the truth. And the truth is that nothing will happen to him like nothing ever happens to anybody else, which is a big reason why we have to stand up, why we have to stand up, why we have to open our mouths, and why we have to hold these jackasses accountable. We don't want to live in this world. We want to expose this world. The Democrats suck. They're selfish. They're racist. They suck. They want to hurt people. And we have to save it. We have to talk about the truth. And the truth is that the corporations, the elites, the Democrats, they've all merged into a super monster. All right. They've become this maniacal, uncontrollable demon, this robot demon, hell-bent on destroying capitalism, breaking the back of the middle class, and driving poverty to extreme highs. They're going to kill you with inflation. They're going to do whatever they want, and they're going to laugh all the way to the bank. They want to make money off of our backs. They want to make money off of our backs through some new tyrannical Marxist form of government. And whether that takes 2 years or whether that takes more indoctrination in the next 50 years, they're already doing it to our kids. They don't care about anyone. They only care about themselves. And even though they tell you that they care about everything, we know the truth. And they'll tell you, the lefties will tell you, oh, we care about the animals. Oh, we care about the environment. Oh, we care about space. Oh, we care about starving babies. We care about women's rights. What about the women in Afghanistan? My body, my choice. How could Texas do this? How could the Supreme Court do this with the abortion law? Oh, my body, my choice. What about vaccinations? No, you're evil. These people don't care about anybody. They don't care about anybody. And like I said before, they don't care about animals. And some of that propaganda that they use, that PETA propaganda, those animal rights groups, that is a huge left-wing industry. It's part of their bread and butter. And there are lots of people on the right that love to save animals. And there are lots of people on the right that believe in conservation. And there are all kinds of people that help. But the big left-wing groups that are all supported by the left, those animal rights groups, they don't even care about animals. They don't care about animals because they are working together to screw animals. It's all about the power. Why are they working together to screw animals? They're working together to screw animals because Joe Biden's State Department really didn't get those dogs out of Afghanistan. What am I talking about? You remember the other day when we heard about the Democrat State Department leaving a bunch of dogs behind in Afghanistan? Then they said the story was fake and it never happened. Well, it did happen. It really did happen, and it's confirmed from Breitbart. The U.S. military confirms regulations blocked Afghanistan dog rescue after activists pointed to the CDC. So PETA, who's normally all about the left, they got told that these dogs got screwed. So what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing is going to happen because they're all on the same side. And it proves they're bad people. They don't even care about the doggies. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care about consent. Geraldo Rivera definitely doesn't care. We talked about that. They don't care about violence. They'll commit violence. Antifa shooting a Proud Boy member. And they don't care about puppies. They don't care about the doggies. People for the ethical treatment of animals. PETA received a response from the U.S. Army on Thursday to its request for assistance with working dogs and companion animals left behind in Afghanistan. You remember? They told us this was a lie. This wasn't a real story. It's real. It's right here. John Hayward wrote this. An Army spokesperson told PETA the U.S. military did not leave any dogs in cages at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, but also they were unable at all to help animal rescue teams evacuate more than 150 stray Afghan dogs. That's what they called them, stray Afghan dogs, due to regulations governing evacuation flights. The International Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the SPCAI, on Tuesday blamed the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. It's all falling apart. Do you see all of these organizations pointing the finger at each other? They blamed the CDC for enacting policies that were a terrible impediment to rescuing dogs from Afghanistan. SPCAI said its application for an emergency exemption from the CDC's July 14th policy suspending the import of dogs from countries at high risk for rabies was denied, even though Congress reprimanded the CDC for issuing the inflexible directive. So they said on here, the SPCA put on Twitter, isn't that crazy? We have to get our news from Twitter. I'm serious. We can't find some of this in the mainstream publications. You actually have to go right to their freaking social media. We're prioritizing the safety and security of the animals and staff involved and cannot share specific details at the time. While we may not post about the rescue efforts every day, rest assured we will provide updates as they become available. They also said, we are also happy to report that Bia, the sweet pup in the video who Charlotte carried out of the airport, is happy and doing well. Aww, puppy. Quote, these dogs were not permitted on military evacuation flights due to regulations, but the Kabul Small Animal Rescue claimed to have arranged a chartered plane to rescue the animals. Unfortunately, that plane did not arrive, leaving no options to evacuate the dogs, the Army spokesperson told PETA on Thursday. That plane probably didn't arrive because there are reports that the State Department has kicked out tons of people that were trying to come in. All right. While the military was still there, tons of people, independent private companies coming in, taking animals, taking people, taking Americans out to safe places, to countries to get vetted. The State Department were telling those countries, telling those people, no. That's very strange, huh? I wonder why. I wonder what the whole deal is. And again, Dems don't care. Dems don't care. Dems are racist. Dems don't give a crap about your perception of them. They know the cat's out of the bag, and they're just giving us the finger. The U.S. military decided the only reasonable and humane course of action was to move these dogs to a former Afghan National Army compound on the airport grounds with appropriate supplies of food and water. They put a bunch of food and water on the ground and abandoned the dogs. Working tirelessly through the night of August 29th and into the morning of August 30th, dedicated U.S. soldiers transported more than 150 dogs in crates down the airfield to the compound. No easy task under the best of circumstances, but particularly challenging during the hazardous final stages of our withdrawal, the response sent to PETA explained. The U.S. Army sheds light on allegations that nearly 150 dogs were left behind in Afghanistan. Do you see the dog here? It's letting everybody know. This is PETA, letting people know what happened with the dogs. These dogs were moved from one side of the airport to the other side of the airport in crates and then let out in a room with a bunch of food and water, and then adios, the military left. I don't know why they're praising themselves, because there's probably a bunch of dead dogs somewhere in the airport if the Taliban hasn't taken and seized them already. The Army spokesperson said Charlotte Maxwell Jones, owner and operator of Kabul Small Animal Rescue, was notified that the dogs had been moved to the relatively self-contained former Afghan military compound and released. So this woman, it's a woman, all right, she runs the Kabul Small Animal Rescue. If she is in Kabul, she's hiding for her life right now. They were moved to the self-contained compound, so they're trapped in an area. They were given some crates of food and water. When that runs out, they're dead, or they're going to get hunted and eaten by starving people eventually, or the Taliban will kill them, or the Taliban will use them for reasons, because these aren't stray dogs. They say they're stray dogs. These are dogs with skills, dogs that were being used by the military. At least a lot of them are. The statement said Maxwell Jones acknowledged that our forces had exercised the only option available at that point and indicated that she intended to return to the airport in the coming days to gather the dogs and get them on a charter plane to forever homes outside of Afghanistan. I have no idea how the hell she thinks she's going to do that, and how mainstream media will even sell that story. It's never going to get anywhere. None of this is ever going to happen. The left is covering for itself because these dogs are effed. Plain and simple. It's our sincere hope that she is successful in that effort, the Army spokesperson concluded. Yeah, hope, because it ain't going to happen. PETA said KSAR confirmed most of the details in the Army statement, but added that its staff was trying to get animals out and needed more time. which was not granted, of course. The Network for Animals said, update, Kabul, Afghanistan. Look at a cute puppy. Oh, the poor little puppy. Please bear with us as we investigate and corroborate the information from the ground in order to share it with you. It is a sensitive situation, and we don't yet have further updates to share. We are working tirelessly on this and appreciate your patience. PETA said KSAR remains committed to the welfare and safety of the many dogs in its charge and is continuing to work on the situation. Concern for the dogs left behind in Afghanistan peaked when photos were posted online showing piles of empty animal cages and scattered supplies of food and water, which gave the appearance of animals callously abandoned rather than carefully relocated to relatively secure facility, as the army described above. Voila, folks. They were literally just released out into nowhere, if they were even released. There's no food, there's no water, they're screwed. And this is just a cover. I have no doubt that there are some good people that work at PETA, some good people that work at these organizations that really do want to help animals. But the puppet string pullers, the elites, the Democrats, the far left psychopaths, the global elites that fund these things, the billionaires that can pump money into saving these things, they did nothing because they don't care. They don't care. Taliban, I was going to say Talamanders. Taliban commanders said on Wednesday they are hunting for released dogs. They're indicating they believe some of the animals at large in Kabul are not strays, but trained service dogs with skills that could be used by the extremist regime. So, great. Absolutely great. Do you think the Taliban's going to eat the dogs? Or maybe use them to somehow find and torture all of those American hostages in Afghanistan. Make no mistake about it. We know one thing's for certain. No matter what happens, the Dems, the Libs, the Rhinos, Antifa, BLM, AOC, Geraldo Rivera, and everyone else, the list goes way on. None of them will care at all. I feel like it's important to remind people who the left really are and what they really stand for. I think a lot of folks forget our history, and it's a shame because the argument of the side of which side is good in this fight, and which side is evil, which side is good and which side is evil. It should be a no-brainer. The left are gaslighting, self-serving, self-righteous racists. You heard me. I said it. They're racists. They're actual racists, not this woke boo-boo pretend game they like to play. My audience isn't stupid, so I'm sure you already knew this. And in order to drive the point home, after all the excitement about Virginia Tech, Rex Chapman, woke education, Antifa, the Proud Boys, Geraldo, and how crappy the left really is, we should end this with a little history lesson. So from the Gateway Pundit, we're going to do this day in history using Saturday, September 4th as the day in history. What were the Democrats up to September 4th, this day in history? 146 years ago. This day in history, Democrats murder 4 former slaves and 5 Republicans at a Clinton, Missouri picnic. Then go on to slaughter another 50 to 100 blacks in the following week. Wow! Democrats did that. Let's read about it. Let's read about that. 146 years ago today, Democrats attacked a Republican barbecue in Clinton, Mississippi. Excuse me, I said Missouri. I meant Mississippi. Murdering 4 former slaves and 5 white Republicans. Democrats then, in the following days, slaughtered another 50 to 100 African Americans. For some reason, you don't hear much about the massacre these days. Here's more on this historic massacre via the Mississippi Encyclopedia. Freedmen first began voting in Mississippi in 1867, and the 1875 election promised to continue the incorporation of black men within the state's political process. Remember, this is 1875. This is past the Civil War. All right. Well past the Civil War. I believe it ended in 1865. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure 1865. With polls set to open on November 2nd, the Mississippi Republican Party planned political rallies on September 4th at Utica and Clinton in Hinds County and at Vernon in nearby Madison County. In Clinton, which is located less than 10 miles west of the state capital, Jackson, whole families of black Republicans gathered at Moss Hill, the site of a former plantation destroyed by Union troops during the Vicksburg campaign of 1863. Estimates of the attendance that day ranged from 1,500 to 2,500, nearly all consisting of freed people and their families, who gathered to enjoy an afternoon of picnicking and politics. There were also approximately 75 white persons present, at least 18 of whom were armed and intoxicated whiteliners, essentially a paramilitary unit of the Mississippi Democratic Party, made up of ex-Confederate soldiers and their descendants. Aware of racial tensions, Republican Governor Adelbert Ames was initially scheduled to speak to the crowd, but Captain H.T. Fisher, a former Union officer and editor of a local Republican newspaper, spoke in place of the governor. In the spirit of open debate and to educate newly enfranchised voters on the election process, Hinds County Republican leaders issued an invitation to the local Democrat Party to send a speaker of their own to address the crowd first. Amos R. Johnson, the Democratic candidate for state Senate, spoke for an hour without incident. However, when Fisher took the platform next, he was heckled by whiteliners from Raymond. Republican organizers, including Black State Senator Charles Caldwell from Clinton, made several appeals for peace. Yet the events of that afternoon quickly escalated into violence. Eugene Wellborn, another rally organizer, testified that the whiteliners fell into formation, brandished weapons, and trained them upon the crowd. The thing opened just like lightning, he recalled, and the shot rained in there just like rain from heaven. Fatalities that day numbered 3 whites and at least 5 blacks, 2 of whom were children. All right? People are asking for peace. People are asking for people to not harm each other. But the left, the Democrats, they couldn't resist on that day back in the 1800s. Sadly, the violence of September 4th merely served as a prelude to the racial massacre that was to come. Amidst false rumors of an African-American plot to storm the town, Clinton's mayor called for assistance. Hundreds of whiteliners traveled by railroad to Clinton, and their numbers quickly swelled to several hundred before nightfall. They, the whiteliners, Wellborn grimly recalled, just hunted the whole country clean out. Just every black man they could see, they were shooting at them, just as the same as birds. Sarah Dickey, a white educator from Ohio who had moved to Mississippi to educate African-American women and children, later described the scene in a letter to President Grant, my favorite president. I was at the Republican mass meeting held at this place. The Democrats who were on the ground went there for the express purpose of creating a disturbance and killing as many as they could. You hear a great deal about the massacre at Clinton, but you do not hear the worst. It cannot be told. While the violence following September 4th resulted in no additional death of white Democrats, the African-American death toll was estimated to be between 35 and 50. This, my friends, is your Democrat Party. It's your Democrat Party, folks. This is who they are. This is BLM. This is Antifa. This is Nancy Pelosi. This is Chuck Schumer. This is President Obama, the former president and the harbinger of tons of this socialist agenda. You should read about that. There's a lot of good books out there, including United States Socialist Republic, talks about his ties with Bill Ayre from the Weather Underground. But seriously, all of these folks, these lefties, these Democrats, these AOCs that have promised the world, they're all wolves in sheep clothing. They're all Trojan horses. They are all racists. They are the party of the people who do the things that I just read to you about. And it's time we stood up and exposed them. It's time we talked about it. It's time we put as much intensity, as much vigor, and as much power into what we believe as they put into theirs. And that's what I have to say about that. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you're watching or listening on the internet, please subscribe and share. Don't forget that American Reveille releases great articles multiple times a week from American patriots just like you. The easiest way to read these articles is by following me on social media at American_Reveille on most platforms. Getter, Gab, Twitter, Facebook, all of those platforms. Just look for American_Reveille. We are easy to find. Do me another favor, a better way, a much better way to just see where we're at every week, to know what we've written, to know what podcasts have come out. You can subscribe to our free speech publication on AmericanReveille.com. That's American Reveille, Reveille.com. We're also looking to expand national to small local television stations and AM radio. And if you have experience with this, please contact us. We need someone to help us with that. American Reveille, James Lane at AmericanReveille.com, Reveille. And we also need someone to help us do the legwork of updating and completing our almost complete new website. We need more bloggers. We need more writers. If you have a perspective and you love to write, I want to see a writing sample, email me directly, James Lane at AmericanReveille.com. That's James Lane at AmericanReveille, Reveille.com. And folks, lastly, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said in the beginning of this talk, if you've enjoyed the show and you're wondering how you can help us grow, please consider donating to our costs by clicking the donate link in the description section or the support us tab on AmericanReveille.com. Again, that's ReveilleE.com. From the underground bunker somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, I will see you guys on episode 171. Bye.